So, have you ever looked at a team and just wondered, how do they do it? The ones who seem to just churn out incredible products while everyone else is, well, struggling to keep their heads above water. The answer, and this might surprise you, has way less to do with the fancy tools you're using and everything to do with your team's mindset.
This quote from Aristotle is thousands of years old, but man, does it nail what it means to be truly agile. See, it's not about just checking off boxes or learning a few new processes. It's about a deep, fundamental shift in how you and your team show up to work every single day.
To really get why Agile was such a game changer, we kind of have to travel back in time. Back to this period where software development was, let's just say, chaotic. It was unpredictable, and honestly, a lot of the time it was just plain miserable.
For decades, this was the norm. Software projects were basically a nightmare. They were almost guaranteed to be late, blow way past their budget, and be riddled with bugs. It was a total recipe for disaster that left you with products nobody wanted and developers who were just completely burned out. It just couldn't last.
And then, in 2001, something amazing happened. A group of developers, they got together at a ski resort of all places and basically said, we've had enough. They were so tired of the old way of doing things and they were dead set on finding a better path. And right there, out of that meeting, the Agile movement was officially born.
And at first, Agile looked like a miracle cure. Seriously, teams that adopted it were suddenly shipping products faster than ever, and the quality was just through the roof. But for a lot of teams, that initial magic started to fade. Those crazy, hyper-productive results they'd read about, they just never really showed up.
And it's not just a feeling, You look at the data, and it's clear. Agile is making a real difference. Teams are way more adaptable, projects are more transparent, morale is higher. So yeah, things are definitely better. But what's the problem then?
Well, the problem is that better often feels kind of disappointing. Teams went from being a total disaster to just being okay, but they weren't becoming those rock star teams they'd read about in all the books. It's like they were stuck in first gear, wondering where all the horsepower went.
And that's exactly when the doubt starts to creep in, right? Teams start asking themselves things like, are we even doing this right? Is this really it? What are we missing here?
And the answer, almost every single time, is a resounding yes.
See, the issue isn't that Agile is broken. The problem is that we're often looking at it completely wrong. It's like we're all wearing our own set of blinders, our job title, our specific responsibilities, and we're totally missing the bigger picture.
Okay, let's take a user story as an example. On paper, it's supposed to be this beautifully simple tool to keep the whole team aligned on a user's need. But what happens in reality? It often ends up like a game of telephone, where the message gets twisted and watered down until it's barely recognizable.
Think about it. The project manager, they see a task to track. The developer sees a feature to build. The product owner sees business value to deliver. The team lead sees a goal to organize everyone around. They are all looking at the exact same thing, but they are seeing 4 completely different things.
And that is where it all starts to fall apart. People stop really communicating, they start pointing fingers when things go sideways, and before you know it, you are right back where you started, dealing with the same old headaches that Agile was supposed to fix in the first place. And this right here is the critical difference between doing Agile and being Agile. Doing Agile is like following a recipe. Being Agile, that's like learning how to cook. One is just mechanically following a set of instructions. The other is about truly understanding the ingredients and how they all work together to create something amazing.
So how do you become a master chef of Agile? How do you make that leap from just following the recipe? Well, it all starts by going back to the source. The 4 core values of the Agile Manifesto. These are the absolute non-negotiable building blocks of a truly Agile mindset.
First, and this is a big one, you have to remember that people are infinitely more important than processes. You can have the best tools, the slickest workflow in the world, but if your team isn't talking, collaborating, and truly on the same page, you're going nowhere fast.
Second, you have to stay laser-focused on what really matters, shipping a great product that actually works. Don't get lost in the weeds creating mountains of documentation that nobody is ever going to read. The proof is in the pudding, not the recipe book.
Third, you got to remember that you and your customers are on the same team. Stop treating them like an adversary across a negotiating table. They're your partners, and working with them, not against them, is the only way you're going to build something they truly want and need. And finally, you have to be ready to roll with the punches. The world changes, right? Markets shift, new info comes out. Your plan has to be able to change with it. Don't be so married to the plan that you're afraid to tear it up and improvise when you need to.
Okay, so those values give you the why. They're the heart of it all. But what about the how? How do you actually take these big ideas and make them real for your team? That's where a concrete methodology comes into play, giving you a structure to bring that mindset to life.
Look, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel or just picking and choosing the few practices you think sound cool, why not start with a recipe that's already proven to work? Methodologies like Scrum or Extreme Programming have been battle-tested by thousands of teams. They are a fantastic place to start.
Let's take Scrum. It's a simple, but believe me, incredibly powerful framework that can get your team on the right track pretty quickly. Think of it like a GPS for your project. It helps you stay on course, navigate around roadblocks, and actually reach your destination together, as a team.
It's kind of like that old story about the blind men and the elephant. You know, if you're only focused on one piece of the animal, the leg, the tail, the trunk, you're never, ever going to understand what the whole thing is. A complete methodology, it's like taking off the blindfolds and finally seeing the entire elephant for what it is.
And this quote from one of the Agile pioneers, Jim Highsmith, just says it all, doesn't it? You really can't have one without the other. The practices are the how, but the principles, the values, that's the why. And without that why, the how is just a bunch of empty, meaningless motions.
So what's it gonna be? Are you gonna keep treading water with those better than not doing it results? Or are you ready to actually start swimming? The choice is yours. But if you really want to see a true, lasting transformation, you have to stop just doing Agile and finally start being Agile.